Hello, welcome in or welcome back to my channel. My name is Deb from DG Reads, and this is my festive sidekick, Kylie. And we are here to kick off December and kick off my Advent Calendar Reading Challenge. It is officially December 1st, and that means that it is time to open the first door in many of my Advent calendars. I did go a little overboard this year. I have a tea calendar, I have a chocolate calendar, I have a couple yarn calendars. I am not going to open every single one in every single Advent video because that would take forever, but I will share a little bit along the way, I am sure. But the important thing, because it is officially December 1st, I get to open my first prompt from my Advent calendar. If you did not see my December TBR video, I created a normal prompt ball TBR and put all of those prompts back into the balls and back into this calendar, and then I pulled another chunk of them. So there is one prompt per door in this 25-day Advent calendar that I purchased. And each day I'm going to open up and pick a book to go with the prompt. I'm not necessarily going to finish the book the same day that I pick the book for every day. I'd like to try to keep up as much as possible. I am giving myself the full month of December to finish all 25 books because I have no clue what's in here. I could pull a prompt that says I have to read a massive book. I could pull a prompt that says I need to read 2 books. I don't actually know what's in here, and that has me excited and nervous. And honestly, the urge to cheat and film this yesterday so I could find out my book early was strong, but I resisted. So since I do have a longer commute today, I have to be farther away from my house earlier than normal, and I'm going to be in the car a lot today. I do hope for a book that I can get on audio because otherwise there's definitely no way I'm finishing it today, but we are going to see what we're going to start off with. All right, number 1. Are you ready, puppy? Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah. Is it a good one? You're not sure? Okay. Ready, set. Okay. I should be able to make this work. And that's to read a pre-ordered book. So something that I pre-ordered and received that I haven't read yet. And of course I don't have any of those on my shelves, but actually I have a lot of those on my shelves. So in this moment, I have a couple ideas, but I'm going to wait and see what I can figure out to get on audio because again, lots of time in the car and so forth. And I will check in with you later once I have that. Hello again, I'm back with some updates for you. So it is now the morning of December 2nd, so I'm excited to be opening my December 2nd doors in the various Advent calendars today. I've given myself the morning to open up the yarns just because some of the people I follow from the yarn community actually open theirs on story, so I want to be able to see them in my hands before I actually see the colors online. So I love seeing other people open them and what they're then doing with them, but I do want to see the colors for myself first. So did that already this morning, having a fun time with it. Already have too many projects in mind I could do with some of this yarn, so we'll see what winds up happening with that. Speaking of yarn, one of the calendars that I think I showed you in some B-roll, which is right behind me here, this one gives me a little ball of yarn each day, and is actually a crochet along Advent, meaning that each day they release part of a pattern. And it came with a cute Christmas blanket, and I liked it. I thought it was cute. I thought the idea of doing a little bit each day, which I no doubt will fall behind on at some point, but I thought it was a fun idea. But when I opened the package, there's actually a surprise extra design that's slightly less Christmassy and therefore maybe more useful on an ongoing basis. And I liked the look of that one maybe just a little bit better. It was a little less, I think, complicated too in parts. So I think that's what I'm doing. I know that's what I'm doing because I actually started it last night. So day 1, we made 7 stars that are eventually going to make their way onto the blanket, and I have them pinned on a board, and I did a little bit of steaming last night to make them slightly more star shaped, but started this, and then I've still got a little bit of yarn left, but we also did the first 2 rows of the actual blanket in yellow. And then today we will be pulling out another ball of yarn and adding on to this piece. So that's going well so far. Taking bets how long I actually keep up with the day to day, because it did take me a couple hours, I'd say, last night. The blanket part, I think, may go a little bit faster than the stars, just because with the stars you're starting and stopping, and I did weave kind of part of the ends in as I went. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited for it. This is from Crochet Society, and the yarn has the propensity to split a little bit, but it's super soft, and as I got working with it, I was having a great time. It didn't split on me once I really got going and in the flow of things, so I'm excited for that. And then for my first prompt, I had a pre-order book that I hadn't read yet, and so I figured that was a perfect time to squeeze in a sequel, and the one I picked was The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen. This is the author, or the sequel rather, to The Games Gods Play, which I absolutely fell in love with. It was definitely a top read for me, and I've been highly anticipating this one, had it pre-ordered. Did I actually start reading it when it arrived? No, I did not. So I'm glad to have been able to pick it up now. This is one I can't really say too much about, so that's okay, because we're gonna have too many books in these vlogs to go in super depth on all of them, or else we'd be here way too long. But it does some really creative things. The way book one ended, I really wasn't sure what direction it was going to be able to take and whether it would keep my interest, because one of the things I loved in book one, ooh, we've got a puppy trying to jump in my lap and she didn't quite make it. You wanna come up? For the sake of a puppy, we don't have to hold up the book, right? One of the things I loved in book one was the trials aspect. I thought she had such a creative mind with putting together these various trials that were put together in the fictional world by the gods and touching on some of the characteristics of each of the gods. And that was one of the things that really drew me into the story. So I was wondering if book two was going to do what a lot of Trials first book series does and lose my attention a bit once the trials are over. But this one does wrap some new, different trials into it. And it plays with the story in a way that keeps it really interesting. And I can't really say what it does because I feel like that would definitely be spoilery. But I really think this is an author with an extremely creative world building mind and a trials building mind, and it is definitely one that I am enjoying. I'm about 85% of the way through, so that's not bad at all. The sitting and crocheting and picking it up on audio worked really well for me last night. I did have a lot of meetings yesterday, which meant not a ton of audiobook time during the day, but that's okay. I made good progress, and I did have a little bit of a book to finish before I could even start that yesterday, so I'm feeling pretty good about my progress so far. But with that, I don't think I'll bring you a ton more thoughts on that one, but I figured I would give an update. Are you ready to pull the next prompt? It's day 2. Yeah, you excited? Okay, she looks so excited, but I'm excited. So day 2 is it a good one? I know it's not food, I'm sorry. Okay, this is one of the ones we knew coming into it, and I don't know, the camera's farther away if this is going to focus, but it's a book related to a collective noun for animals. Okay, I don't have the book here with me, but the book that I selected for this one was related to a school of fish because it's a school setting, and the book is Rules of Ruin by Mimi Matthews. All I really know about this one, it is historical. It is a Once Upon a Book Club box book, so I will have some gifts to open along the way. Can't go wrong with that. And it is about training women to disrupt the patriarchy, which sounds really intriguing. So I will let you know once I get going on this. This one is shorter, which is nice because I definitely have a heavy work day today. I need to get some editing done because I filmed a bunch over the weekend and I haven't even touched the editing for that, and that's going to take me away from reading. But hopefully I can get the audiobook for this one. I know I'm at the top of the waiting list at the library, and hopefully that'll come through. So the idea is to finish up my current read, move on to this one, and we're going along smoothly. Good morning. It is still dark out. I'm actually up a little bit early this morning. Last night, I finished my blanket for day 2 of my crochet along for my advent calendar, and then I decided I just wanted to go and crash out in bed, read a little bit, and then went to sleep. So I got up early this morning, planning to probably do a little crochet this morning and get my coffee and sit and read for a little bit before I have to actually start being productive and get ready for work. But in the meantime, I figured I would do my advent calendar update for you. Yesterday was not a great reading day. I had a impromptu meeting that I didn't know was coming, that they let me know like an hour ahead that I needed to be at, and then another meeting later in the day that went long because tangents are a thing, and then I also edited a video, which doesn't get me through everything I need to do, but at least got me a little bit of progress in having what I need posted this week in progress. So it was a productive day, not necessarily a reading day. I wound up picking up just takeout on the way home and coming home crashing out with crochet and reading to get a little bit of progress in. In the meantime though, I did finish up The things gods broke on the way to work yesterday, and I had a really great time with this. I wasn't as obsessed as I was with book one. I like the trials in here. I like the unique take she goes with on a sequel and what she changes, and it made it feel very interesting but still engaging. It kind of dragged out the relationship in some ways a little bit, which I feel like for me personally, a lot of times with sequels, you just get very heavily into the relationship and you forget the plot, and that didn't happen in here, so I did appreciate that. This one does end on another cliffhanger, so I will be eagerly awaiting and probably pre-ordering the third book. I mean, they are just really stunning the way they've put this together. I don't always love Red Tower books, but they do put together a really gorgeous book. I'm really happy this series, though, hits on all levels. So I finished that one up, and I think it was a solid 4-star. I don't think I said that. And then I picked up Rules for Ruin, and I've been liking this one. It's not an obsession read, but it's a really easy one to consume. I thought this was going to be more school settings based on what I had read from the synopsis. But our main character, Effie, is a former student of this school where the woman in charge is teaching girls to fit into society and do things in an effort to take the patriarchy down. There is a man, and he is very influential and powerful, and the woman in charge of this school really wants him taken down. And there's a lot of talking here about the rules about women and their rights to own things that keep them tied to men who aren't good for them, and the need for change. So there's a lot of good discussions with that, and this man has some sway over a particular bill that's been considered where it would give women the right to own things. And that would be, groundbreaking for women to have more independence, of course. So our main character has been trained to go into society, to get into his circles, to try to get something on him. He has a past potentially with the person in charge of her school, and this is her opportunity because yes, the school is training people to do potentially good things, a little underhandedly, but it does leave the students in this woman's debt. This is her way of getting out. If she succeeds and takes this man down, she will be released from any debt she has from her schooling. She will be given a little bit of money and basically her independence. And so it's her and her little poodle, who is very well trained, much better trained than Kylie, to assist in her endeavors. And I love the little dog too. The other main character in here is Gabriel, and he has a vested interest in this man staying as he is. Gabriel's part of kind of the underground. He is a bookmaker. He is someone who is living on the other side of the tracks, perhaps, but he is using this as a way to try to help better life for those who are impoverished. In my not quite awake state, I did replace my battery, but I forgot that the memory card was nearly full, so I had to restart. Anyway, this has these two kind of butting heads in some ways, but also there's going to be a romance that's developing between them. I am 60% in, and I am enjoying some of the banter between them. I'm enjoying some of the interaction between them. I think the discussions that are being had in here about women of this society and their rights or their lack of rights is really interesting. It's not a can't put down read, but it's an easily consumable read, if that makes sense. So overall, I am enjoying this one. It was a little bit slow going. I have a gifted audiobook from PRH Audio, and that is helping with this as I'm sitting and crocheting. But we are going to figure out what my next book is, and maybe I can do a little catch up today. We'll see. We'll see what it gives me. All right, we are going for number 3. Kylie's brought her monster toy over here to watch. Yeah, have your toy? No. Okay, spot 3. And here we go. Okay, this one's easy. A book from a publisher. Actually, I think this was one of my originals from my prompt ball, if I'm remembering right. Okay, yes, this was one of the ones that I received when I did my prompt ball game, and actually the book that I had planned to read for that is one that doesn't come out until the end of January. So I feel like I'm going to do a change up. I am going to switch over to kind of a lighter read because the other one's a heavier fantasy, I think, or at least a fantasy that requires more focus. And while I'm behind and in the middle of the busy week, I think it's a better option to go with the thriller. So I'm going to be reading Sandra Brown's Blood Moon. This is a gifted copy I received from Grand Central Publishers, and I believe this is a fairly recent release, potentially, but I am going to do a swap out, which I think is fair, because with the timing of everything, I think that works. We are following a detective in this one who is kind of on the edge of being fired in coastal Louisiana. There was a missing teenage girl 3 years before and the case wasn't solved. And now he's been approached by a senior producer on Crisis Point, and she believes that this was not an isolated experience. So she approaches him about this. I actually started this yesterday because I was in the car when I finished an audiobook and I couldn't pull up my PRH audio app in the car. So I started this one on the way to work. I'm a whole 10% in, but that so far it's intriguing. I wouldn't say I'm far enough in to really get a grasp of what's going on or give initial thoughts, but it definitely was feeling like a book that I did want to go ahead and continue in the present moment. I just picked up the audiobook from the library. So I'm going to get back to my crochet and get to my coffee and start reading. Hello, it is now officially day 4 of December. That's a weird way to phrase it, but when it comes to an advent box, it feels a little more appropriate to say it's the 4th day. Kylie literally was being quiet, and then I sat down and started talking, and then now she's playing with her toy again. So there may be noises in the background. Anyway, I am here because I have updates and we get to pick our next prompt. I'm excited for that. So first off, I did finish up Rules for Ruin yesterday, and overall, I like this. It falls in the category of it was fine, it was entertaining. It didn't make me want to put it down. It definitely felt historical. The relationship between our two main characters goes a little bit quickly for my personal taste. I liked the kind of way that they had some banter, some enemy-ish moments. Rivals, I guess, would be the more appropriate way to say it. And I like the fact that we see her be vulnerable in a moment, something that we eventually come to understand more about. But in that moment, he steps up, he's being supportive, and that they do come to a common ground. So I liked that progression, even if I would have liked a little bit more of the banter, a little bit more of the development, but I think that just wasn't the focus. Kylie, you are being very disruptive. Come here. What do you think? Yeah, can I hold your toy? Okay. We're good. Poor Kylie thinks I'm throwing this to her. Oh, poor baby. So we're doing an update with the toy now. So overall, I do think this was good. I think it's just not necessarily my personal taste at the moment to be reading this sort of historical setting, but I did think there were good discussions in here and interesting talk about the rules around women. And there is an author's note at the end that kind of goes into some of that as well. So overall, I'm giving this one a 3.5. And then I made some progress also with my next book, and I did not realize how chunky this is. It's like a 13-hour audio. And that is Blood Moon by Sandra Brown. And I'm liking it. I wouldn't say I'm loving it. I think that our two main characters aren't the most likable for me. I appreciate what they're going through. I appreciate the rest, but I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So some years back, there was a girl who went missing, and our main character, John, is a detective, and he was on the case along with others. And he was really pushing for answers, for looking into things, and his kind of current day superior, I'm not 100% clear if they were peers at the time or at different levels in the department at the time, but the man who is now his boss at the time kind of took control with some things. They actually found someone, they accused them, and they convicted them, and that seemed to be the end of it. His boss obviously got the promotion and is now in charge of the department. The other main character is Beth, and she works for kind of a true crime TV show, and they're doing this feature, or she pitched a feature on this particular crime. The thing is, she doesn't think it's a one-off. She doesn't think that it's over with, so she approaches our detective, who is borderline holding on to his job to begin with, to tell him she thinks the police got it wrong. He is a little bit slightly reliant on alcohol, he's grumpy, he's definitely not in the mood to hear her telling him that there's going to be more murders. She has found a correlation between the fact that this killing or missing person, presumed killing, happened on a blood moon. And this is something that she's seen a pattern surrounding, and eventually she gets John to agree that there is something fishy going on. He's still on his last legs with the department. That even gets worse, and he's trying to coordinate with the fact that these other disappearances happened in other kind of departments in other areas, which is why they haven't connected this before now. So I'm finding the mystery interesting. I'm finding the fact that this is a romantic suspense. The romance is not really grabbing me personally, but I am finding the characters interesting. We're getting backstory on them. We're getting some of their motivations in what they're doing and emotion out of them in that regard. And I'm finding the mystery itself intriguing, and the way it's touching on different things, learning about the different moon phases and things like that are all very interesting. So overall, I'm not having a bad time with it. I'm about at the 80% mark, and I am spending a lot of time in my car again today. I have meetings further out that'll take me a while to get to and get back from, so I definitely will be finishing this one up, if not this morning, definitely by this afternoon. So that leaves me in a good position to almost kind of be close to catching up. So it's only the 4th of the month. It would be nice to be caught up. So with that, let's go ahead and figure out what our next prompt is. Kylie is so intently staring at this piece of paper. I know it's just because she's waiting for her toy back, but that's okay. All right, I can make this work. This one is another one that I didn't know ahead of time, but it is a book that deals with time travel, alternate universes, or alternate realities. That is something that I really like. This was a prompt from Around the Year in 52 Books, and I'm not sure what book that is going to have me picking up today, but I have till the end of Blood Moon to figure that out, and I definitely have options on my shelves for sure. So with that, I did just open up my next day of my Crochet Society advent calendar. We've got our first blue color, and there's little goodies in here, which I knew there were going to be some, but I didn't know there would be kind of something so far every day. But there's a really cute yarn charm there. Stitch marker, I guess, would be the appropriate term, but cute little one. We had a moon the other day, so now we have a sun to go with it, which is cute. So I'm excited to get going on this one. I know I need to make some more stars with the yellow, and then this is going to be the next color actually going on the body of the blanket. So I'm making good progress. So far I'm staying caught up with that, and I'm nearly caught up with the books. So we're doing well so far. In any case, I've got about half an hour before I have to be on the road today. So I'm going to spend a little time with Kylie, give her toy back, and then maybe even start on some crocheting with my coffee. And I'll check in with you later. Good morning. It is Friday and I'm in my PJs. I'm not feeling the best. I think my lunch yesterday, my really late, really large lunch, probably wasn't the best choice. Didn't sit right. Not feeling my best this morning, but that's okay. I'm hopeful that I will get past that. Unfortunately, I do have a meeting this afternoon I think I need to log in for, but otherwise I've just told work I'm not coming in. I don't feel like getting in the car. So that's the plan for today. We're keeping it cozy. I can do the meeting this afternoon with camera off, so PJs on, and I can get some reading in. So I do have updates. Yesterday wound up being a pretty productive reading day. I started off, I finished up Blood Moon, and overall I liked this. I never got super invested in the relationship. I felt like it was predictable, but I did like the mystery. I liked the drama. It took a few turns that I expected, but overall, I thought it was well done. There was interesting clues to follow and theories to follow and people getting what they deserved out of things and everything else. So I'm giving this one a 3 to 3.5 stars. I think it was a decent time. It was entertaining. It's one that I will pass on to a friend who I know will enjoy it, and we will go from there. So yesterday's prompt had us needing a book with time travel or alternate realities or something like that. And it took me a while to figure out what I was going to do for that. My library card, where I had a couple of books in mind that were available, wasn't letting me use my PIN to sign in, and I knew I had my PIN right. I even reset my PIN. It still wouldn't work, so it was definitely a Libby issue being down. So that didn't work out for me. And then I remembered I had the perfect book in an ARC that I already had downloaded to my phone, and that is Detour by Jeff Rake and Rob Hart. I've read Rob Hart before and enjoyed his writing, so I was happy to kind of see this coming. It's coming out January 13th, so I'm ahead of the game a little bit on this one, which is good. And it was pitched as a space crew goes to space, and then when they return, they come back to a different Earth, not the one they left. So that was the pitch I went into for this one, and it perfectly fit the prompt. Now, the book itself, it is book one in a series, so a lot of this book is set up. The first half of the book, they are on Earth. They haven't left yet. And we start by meeting one of our main characters, and that is Ryan. He is a police detective. His wife is in extreme pain. We start off with an emergency, him rushing to get her to the hospital because her appendix is about to burst, and this winds up putting him in a place to save a man's life. The man's life he winds up saving is a rich man who's very invested in space travel, and he is trying to make a political name for himself, but also kind of co-sponsoring this mission to Titan. And Titan is one of the moons of Saturn, and the idea is that this is is a place that Earth and humans can explore as a potential place to go because the resources on Earth are running out and humans need a backup plan. So Ryan, through this, even though he's not at all qualified, winds up getting invited as part of the space mission. We are following his POV, we're following the POV of everyone else on the mission, we are following Ward's perspective, and a few others here or there along the way. So like I said, at the halfway point, they really are just preparing to leave Earth. We're getting all of their backstories, their various relationships on Earth, which is important if we're going to be seeing differences when they get back from Titan, or they're just making a loop around Titan and coming back and deploying a satellite or something while they are there. We are watching them train for this mission. We are watching them fail at training for this mission for quite some time. And it's interesting, but it definitely feels like it's set up for what's ultimately going to come. There's a few shady things that have happened and so forth. As we get into the second half, I am now about 80% of the way through this book. So as we're in the second half, we are seeing them in space a little bit, but the actual mission and the time and space is, I don't think, going to be a super huge focus of the book because they're going to need to come back to Earth and see that something is wrong. And then I assume we're going to get a book 2 in the series, and that's going to further go into what has happened. That's my guess. So I have been enjoying this one. I think it is very interesting. It's been a little slow paced because it's been very kind of slice of life for so many different characters and seeing their life and how they got into this mission and everything. We've got a few people who are actually trained for space, astronauts and space training and all of that. And then we have people like Ryan who are very much just civilians who know nothing. We have someone who won a lottery to get onto this journey. It's going to be a 2-year journey, and the motivations for everyone to be there are different and interesting. And so I am enjoying it. I think it's a setup book. I think it's going to take its time, and then we're going to get more into the action as we go. But ultimately, this will eventually be meeting the prompt based on the pitch of this one, and I am looking forward to finishing this one and then waiting and seeing what we get in the next book. One thing I will say is when they are on the ship, I've gotten to that point, and one of the characters notes Assassins Anonymous by Rob Hart as being one of the books on the shelf that one of the people brought with them. That's a book I have read from Rob Hart before, and I did really enjoy it, which had a kind of very different plot line in it, but was a nice shout out. Okay, the door buzzer rang. I had to get the door, and Kylie went wild, and she's now exploring whatever it is that just got delivered that I haven't opened yet. So I have no idea where I left off, but I did enjoy Assassins Anonymous by Rob Hart, so that was a fun little shout out to pick up in here. This is a copy I have gifted from PRH Audio, which I don't think I'd mentioned previously, and I'm having a good time with it. So with that, I am eager to finish that one up this morning probably and figure out what my next prompt is. So day number 5. All right, this one's relatively easy. A book box book. Do I know off the top of my head what I want for this? No, but it is something I need to do better at, is reading my book box books. So I'm going to figure this out, and I'll check in with you probably later on. I'm going to get a blanket, wrap up on the couch with Kylie and my books, and maybe my crochet, and that's going to be my morning. I need some coffee. That's the only thing I definitely need. December 6th. I am up early for no particular reason. I did crash out early last night as well. We have a very energetic puppy, so I've already taken her toy away that she likes to make noise with, and I've given her a treat, and now she's asking for more. So if I'm distracted, that would be why. Both of us were not feeling well yesterday. I don't know why, but she wasn't wanting to eat or anything, but then by last night, she was very happy to let me give her some rice and chicken, and she hadn't been wanting even rice earlier in the day, so I feel good about that. She's definitely got more energy than I do at this hour, but I need my coffee. So I want to go ahead and finish up my adventing for the morning and then move on to the coffee and reading and crocheting and snuggling up, because it is chilly this morning. It's in the 40s, which is not, I know, cold compared to many of you, but for here and for the fact that I left my windows and stuff open all night, it's a little bit chilly. So it's definitely a day to get piled under some blankets. So updates. I don't remember if I updated you on Detour when I finished that because I've lost track, but I'm guessing not. So this was entertaining. Like I said, I think at the last update, it really felt like a setup book. It's definitely setting up action. The action absolutely picks up by the end of the book. We get to the blurb and what has happened. They've returned to this earth. They don't recognize things. That's in the synopsis that I kept waiting for. So we do get to that point, but we don't get to the point of getting answers and getting things resolved. So it definitely leaves things unanswered, which I think, knowing going into this one that it was the start of a series. I don't know how long of a series, but I definitely will want to pick up the next book. I think this one's landing like at a 3.5, but I'm rounding it to 4 because I see the potential for more interesting world building and information, and there's little hints of what could be going on so far, and I really am excited to get answers. So with that, our prompt yesterday was to read a book box book, and I've been on a little bit of a journey with this one. Given that I'm living in my crochet mode right now, I wanted audio, so I just went and unpaused a bunch of my book box book audio holds that I have at Libby and went with the first one that came in, and that was the Hurricane Wars. And I made it nearly 40% of the way into this one, and I'm really sad because it is such a pretty book, and this Farrelloot edition is really truly gorgeous, but I just wasn't caring. And it's too long of a book to be reading if I'm not caring about it. And I need to be better about not caring about the fact that it's pretty and just get it gone. I think the world building in here was just a little bit clunky. It has a lot of terms of different things. It's kind of sci-fi almost feeling as well as fantasy feeling. And normally that's fine, but I couldn't quite tell what in here was mechanical, what was magical. And so I just decided to put this down and see what else came in on my Libby. So the book that I'm actually going to go for this prompt is Asylum Hotel. This is by Juliet Blackwell. This is another one I received in my Once Upon a Book Club boxes. And it's one that's been calling to me ever since it came in because it seems like it will be right up my alley. I am only about 20% of the way into it since I did spend a lot of time on Hurricane Wars before I put that one down, but I am looking forward to opening this one. Came with like 3 gifts. We've also got, without getting myself into spoilers, there's some sort of a note in here. So I am interested to see where we're heading with this one. We are following a photographer and she has found this abandoned hotel and is taking photos. She winds up meeting a man there who is there kind of investigating it. He's going to be having a Netflix show about exploring abandoned buildings, and they wind up exploring together and then having a one-night stand basically. And this building is creepy. There's weird music. There's definitely a lot of tension and atmosphere in here, which I really, really appreciated. And that's kind of our setup. Except that after this one-night stand, Aubrey wakes up in the morning and he seems to be gone, although some of his stuff is still in her room. So she kind of goes exploring a little bit and learns that he is dead. He has fallen or jumped or been pushed or who knows what off of a cliff known as Dead Man's Bluff, I think it's called. And she's a little bit questioning what happened. And it turns out there's some lore about this building that the place is cursed and those who venture there become cursed themselves. So did this man die from this curse? Is she cursed? What's going to go on? So I am really excited to keep going in this one. This one is calling me to pick it right back up this morning. And I feel like it's been a couple of books where I've been that invested in it. So that's good. Plus it's getting me to a book box book, which I need to do better at. And all is looking good with this one. But like I said, I'm only like 20% through, but it is a quick read, so that also helps. With that though, I do have big plans to do a lot of reading today, so I am hopeful that whatever I get next out of my advent prompts will help me with that. Lexi at Books with Lexi is doing a 24-hour readathon starting in a couple hours now, I think it is, and I've committed to reading 700 pages between 9 a.m. my time today and 9 a.m. my time tomorrow, so I'm hopeful that that will work. So let's find out what is in box number 6. Kylie gets so invested, but especially on a Saturday when she's going to have to probably listen with me. All right, we have our William Morrow publisher prompt. I think this is one of the ones that we already had previously, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is one that I had from my prompt vault TBR game, and the book that I picked for this one is The Women of Wild Hill. This is by Kristen Miller. This is one that I do have the audiobook copy from William Morrow and Libro FM, so I'm really excited to get to this one. This is an author I've enjoyed before, and we are following witchy women. That's what I know about it going into it, and since it's an audiobook, it's perfect to just buckle down and get through it today. Hopefully, by the end of today, I can be caught up with all of my Advent reads and start fresh tomorrow morning with box number 7. So I'm going to get to it, get my coffee. Apparently I'm losing my voice again, and hopefully sit down and get some good reading in. Happy Sunday. If you're hearing noise in the background, apparently one of my neighbors decided they're doing some sort of construction today. So there's people talking, there's ladders, there's noise. I don't know what's going on, so I can't really wait to get on with my day and my filming and all the like. Kylie is also being a little chaotic right now. So apparently it's just the theme of the morning. All right, she kept wanting it in my lap, and then she wanted noisy toys. So I finally got her in the lap at least. So updates before we get our new prompt. I will keep them probably a little bit shortly, just the noise going on outside. But you want to tell them? I had a good reading day yesterday. I read more than 1,000 pages, which, is doable for me. But usually I get distracted or decide to go watch TV instead or do something. But I was motivated. We had a 24-hour readathon happening with Lexi at Books with Lexi, and that definitely helped push me to keep going. I started off the day finishing up Asylum Hotel, and I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a good mix of having some horror elements and some good atmosphere with the haunted setting in here, and kind of more of a mystery and then looking into clues and things like that also. So it was kind of a good genre mix, I would call it. I think it did well with the pacing, getting it going at the start and then keeping things moving as the story kept unfolding. So I had a good time with this one. I'm giving it 4 stars. It definitely held my attention. It kept me wanting to pick it back up, which is always what you want in a book, especially a quick kind of thrillery, horror-y, mystery type of read. And I had a fun time with it, and getting to open the gifts as I went with Once Upon a Book Club box is always fun as well. So that was that one. And then I picked up and read the entirety of The Women of Wild Hill by Kristen Miller, and I had a fantastic time with this one. It's witchy, it's a little historical going back in time, but that's just because you're following kind of multiple generations of this witchy family, and it's definitely focused on female empowerment and female rage and revenge against men and a lot of things that I really enjoyed. We start off, we're following these 2 sisters, and they are estranged from each other. Each of them kind of has their own powers, and they are using those to help women in various situations. It actually starts with one of them welcoming a woman into her home who needs help. Her husband forced himself on her. She's now pregnant. This pregnancy might kill her, and her husband has left visible marks of the fact that he might kill her as well, and she's there for help. And the sequence of events that get tied to that and how that resolves and how that man is no longer going to be hurting anyone anymore definitely started the book off on a really strong note. Then we wind up with the sisters being called back to Wild Hill, and this is where they grew up with their mother and their aunt. This is a family that really hasn't put a lot of stock in men and having solid romances and relationships. It's about getting children, basically, and kind of how that has played out over the past generations is something that gets revealed once they get to this location. And there's been a prophecy that eventually there's going to be 3 women in this line of women that are going to solve things and take down the patriarchy, basically. And I think it was done in a really interesting way. I think the characters were all really well fleshed out. I didn't have any trouble tracking who was who and what their different kind of takes on life were, and getting kind of the flashbacks to the past and how this family line started, how they first arrived in this location, how the resident ghost was involved, things like that. I think worked really well, and I was just absolutely riveted to the story, didn't have any issue just sitting and listening to it, and this was a 5-star read for me. So this is one that I have gifted from William Morrow and Libro FM, so I'm really, really glad that I picked it up from them. Kicking myself a bit that it took me this long to get to it because it's one I've been trying to get to for a while, but I'm very glad that I got to it, and also that means that I am fully caught up on my advent calendar read, which, doesn't happen very often. So I know the fact that it was the weekend definitely contributed to that, and really I spent all day just sitting and audiobooking and crocheting, because in addition to that I also read half of one of the books for the Vampire Academy read-along that I need to get read by next weekend, and I did a couple of partial books for arcs that I need to get to that I haven't fit into prompts yet. So with that, I did a lot of good reading yesterday. Yeah, you did too. You were a good reader yesterday. Kylie was of course listening to the audiobooks along with me. I am up to date on my Advent blanket, and I showed that to you, but it's all the way over there, and I have a dog in my lap. And looking forward to adding on today. I probably shouldn't spend the entire day crocheting today because I might kill my arms because that's a lot of crocheting and repetitive motion, but we'll see how the day goes. So with that, let me pull out my next prompt. All right, we have the ball for door number 7. We are almost done with the bottom row on our Christmas tree. It is wild how quickly the month is going. You want to know what it is? You want to read it? No. Oh no. Oh no. I jinxed myself. I think I jinxed myself. Because we already had one of these and now we have another one. Pick 2 prompts and either combine them or read 2 books. So the one that we already had from Prompt Ball, I put the 2 prompts in with it. So this is another one that's pull 2 balls. So I guess we need to set up my Prompt Ball upstairs and figure out what those prompts are going to be. Oh boy. All right, this isn't the best angle, but I'm not really set up for this, but let's figure out what the 2 prompts are going to be. Number 1 and number 2. All right, prompt number 1. Okay, that one shouldn't be too hard. A book with a sprayed edge, definitely have a number of those to read. But it does mean if I can't combine them, usually my books with sprayed edges are on the larger side. So there's that. And our second prompt, okay, I just kicked the camera, so if it moved, that would be why. Prompt number 2, we have, okay, not sure about this one. And it is a book with a snake on the cover or in the title, something along those lines. So we will see how easy or hard this might be. I don't know. My sprayed edge books are pretty much all downstairs, at least the ones I can get audio for, which I definitely want for today. So I'm gonna get looking and see what I come up with. Hello and happy Monday. It's December 8th and it's a little bit early. I crashed out last night. I had a busier day than I anticipated, like not up and doing things, but just online things. I had a watch along, I had some live sprints, and then tried to participate in some sprints that Heather from Books with Heather was doing last night as she's kicking off a little readathon with her Patreon, and I just was falling asleep. I was struggling to keep reading. And so probably about 9 o'clock, 9:30, I was out for good for the night. Woke up a couple times, went right back to sleep. And when I woke up at 5 this morning, I decided it was finally time I could get up. So I am not as far along in my book from yesterday as I thought, but I was very happy to have found the perfect book for these prompts. I will be honest, I had the prompt to read sprayed edges. That's easy. I have plenty of books for that. But then I got snake on the cover or title, and that one I honestly considered putting back and pretending I never saw it, but I did find a book. Kylie's really wanting to play because we're up early, so I will play with her. But first, I'm taking this away. Poor girl. She is looking at me so heartbroken. And I will tell you about my book. So I needed snakes. I needed sprayed edges. Well, I have just that. So sprayed edges and I, Medusa by Ayana Gray. And this is a gorgeous looking book. This is one that I received gifted from Random House, and it does have the sprayed edges on it. And in her hair are in fact snakes. So I thought this was going to be a struggle. It actually was. I went through every shelf of my unread sprayed edges that I had and found this one last of all. There's even snakes around her neck actually now that I'm looking at it. But in any case, I started reading this yesterday in between doing other things, and I'm having a fantastic time with it. I thought for sure I would finish this yesterday and go into this week absolutely clean, starting from scratch, and pick Monday's book and run with it. But I am 70% of the way into here so far. So we are following Medusa as she was starting as a child. She was the only human child born to 2 sea gods, and she was raised on an island with her 2 sisters, living a pretty idyllic life in some ways, but yearning to see the wider world. Her father, absolutely a beast of a man, absolutely mistreats the mother. You do see some of that abuse on page. He doesn't particularly care for the daughters so much unless they're doing something that happens to please him. The mother is living in her alcohol. We don't really know at the outset what has caused kind of some of their feelings and the way they are. We do learn more about that as the story continues. And then we see Medusa kind of grow up, realize that she has opportunities to leave this island. She connects with Athena and she connects with Poseidon in various ways. And you can see the growth. I think the author's doing well at seeing where the seeds of her disquiet, her anger, and everything come from. The abusive relationship she sees in her parents spurns some of that. Her own seeing injustice, seeing things that don't seem fair, that the gods have the ability to say what is and not really take the truth into account, things like that. And you can see where she could become this monster that Medusa is known to be, the one with the snake hair, the one who turns men into stone, and you can see kind of the seeds of that. And I think the author's doing really well at that. She's also addressing a lot about racism in here. Our character is clearly a young Black woman. She's got locks. She's surrounded by these Greek women who have never seen someone like this. They want to touch her hair. They want to comment on her appearance and just her different way of living. And so there's a lot of that being addressed in here as well. So this is going really well. I'm really liking it. It's gotten a little bit slower where we're at now. I'm not loving some of the decisions Medusa is making in her day-to-day existence. She's a little bit, I want to say immature. That's probably probably the wrong word, naive. Her family really hasn't prepared her for what she's going to experience in life beyond the island. But overall, I'm still really having a fantastic time with this one. So I don't think I'll have a problem finishing this one up. I was able to get a copy of the audiobook from my library, so that is going well as well, and I can take it with me when I go off to work today. So with that, on to day 8. Okay, I can work with this. So we're looking for a cover with an opposite color scheme on it, or at least a primarily opposite cover, which shouldn't be too hard because this is white, and I feel like the majority of my books have a very black cover. So this is white with, I would say, some green to it, and that kind of leaves me looking for something with a black cover. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do for this one, and I'm going to read Silver Cloak. This is by L.K. Stevens. It's one that I received from a publisher. I definitely wanted to read it soon. It's on my Romantasy TBR. It's also one that just got picked for this month for the buddy read hosted by Mel at Melanor Reads and Cassidy at Covers with Cassidy. So I wanted to fit that in somehow with everything else going on this month. So this is perfect because it's primarily black. It's got white on it as well, which this one is white with some black on it as well. So I feel like it really does work quite well for opposite color. So that is what we're going to go with. I'm pretty sure I can get the audiobook from the library, so that's good. I do need to finish up my Vampire Academy read-along books. I am halfway through the second of the 2, so I'm not too worried, but that live show is on Saturday, so that also needs to be a priority this week. So I think I have enough to get me going, get my day going, and I will check in with you later after I finish this and hopefully get a good start in on Silver Cloak. Happy December 9th. I am checking in a little bit later than usual because I have a meeting today that requires me to be further out again, but I don't have to be there till 10:30, so I have a little bit of extra time this morning. I did sleep a little later than I meant to, so I'm not going to have quite as much free time as I had hoped this morning, but that's okay. It's taking a little of the pressure off. Last time I had a meeting out there, I was late because the traffic was horrendous, so hopefully I can leave early, maybe take a crochet project with me and do it in the car if I get there too early, and definitely get some reading done along the way. Speaking of reading, I did finish up I, Medusa, and I thought this was really well done. I think it touched on kind of the myth of someone taking out the Medusa, and obviously she's usually painted as the monster, so the person who kills her is the conquering hero, and in here it does get to that point of the story, although it's a little bit glossed over, and I really appreciated the fact that the author said in the author's note that she didn't want to paint the conquering hero image in here. Obviously this book is about centering women and their stories, so I did appreciate that. I think the nuances to Medusa's character and kind of the way she's compared to her sisters and her family and things like that were really well done. There were a few moments in here that kept it from feeling necessarily fully 5-star-y to me, but it came really close. I did really like the writing in here. This is an author I know I can really enjoy because I did enjoy their previous books, so obviously one to watch going forward, and this one's getting a 4.5 for me. And then my opposite color cover, which I think seeing them side by side, you can kind of see the vibe. I did pick up Silver Cloak. I didn't realize it was quite as dense as it is. It's like a 17 or 18 hour audio. So I didn't make it as far as I would have liked into this one. I had a lot going on at work yesterday. I didn't think trying to start a new fantasy and learn a new world and system and everything else at the same time was a good idea. I did start in the car, and then I used this while I was doing some crochet last night on audio. And so far, I am liking it. We are following Saf, and she has a powerful magic. She was raised by parents who also had magic and trained her in using it. But when she was really young, a group of people came to the house and slaughtered her parents, and she's hellbent on a mission of revenge. She has made her way into the Silver Cloak Academy. This is where the detectives learn their trade, and she is working her way kind of to the top of this. But she gets found out very early on in the story, and basically it's going to be revealed that she's not who she says she is unless she goes undercover for them. This is something that she wants to do because going undercover will allow her to go up against the people who took her parents down, the Blood Moons, and tear apart their organization from within. There's a few weird things going on in here. She has a vision of sorts that tells her that the relationship she has with the son of the kingpin of the Blood Moons is going to get complicated. She already has a complicated relationship with a woman that she had a off relationship, but a little bit of things are still happening there, and there's still interest there as well. And she's kind of playing both sides. The Blood Moon think she's on their side against the Silver Cloaks. The Silver Cloaks think she's on their side against the Blood Moon. And I do enjoy kind of that dynamic and seeing how things play out. There's a few things in here that I'm not necessarily driving with. One, overall, I can't put my finger on exactly what, but there's just something that's not 100% holding my attention. And I'm hoping maybe as I get further in, that'll improve. I do think the world building, what the wider world looks like, maybe hasn't been fleshed out quite enough for me. And the magic system also, they use wands, they use magical spells to cast spells. And there are some really interesting elements to it. Like they use different prefixes for if it's a good intention or a bad intention type of spell, or there's a couple others as well, which I thought was an interesting way of using language. But I do feel like our characters just know these spells. They just bring them to mind, they use them. We get a few explanations here and there, but we don't get a lot of time at the school. And I think maybe if we had seen her time at the school rather than just kind of seeing the final trials element that happens really quickly at the beginning of the book, maybe I'd be more invested in the magic system itself. But in any case, I am enjoying it. I think it's going to be an interesting read. I'm not wanting to put it down at all. And also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is a gifted copy I received from Del Rey. It really is a stunning book with the blue sprayed edges, matching some of the cover, and the hints of, I'm assuming, kind of blood to go with the Blood Moon kind of concept on the cover as well. So, like I said, I'll keep going with that. And then we need to figure out today's prompt. And if I could hope for anything, it's that I can fit a shorter book into it. I went into this hoping that like my average wouldn't go over like 350 to 400, probably closer to 400 pages per day. And I've been picking some bigger books and some denser books and things that take a little bit longer. Even with Silver Cloak, even as much as I have the audio, I found I can't speed up the audio too much just because there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm not familiar enough with. So I sped it up, but just not to my normal speeds. So it's going to take longer, even on top of it being an 18-hour audio. So I'm hoping for something maybe that's a little bit easier. I wouldn't mind getting something short that I can eyeball read just to kind of force myself to take a break from audio and from crocheting a little bit. My wrist has started hurting a little bit, so I'm trying to just stick to my daily crochet for a couple days and not take on extra projects. And anyway, that's enough rambling. Let us see what our prompt is. All right, this is the final ball on the bottom row. Okay, I can probably find something from around the year in 52 books, a book with a single word title. So if I do wind up picking a long book on this one, it's my own fault because I should be able to find something relatively short with a single word title. Okay, I've had a look through my TBR, and of course I don't have anything on my TBR for the month. Kylie's Monster has joined us once more. That has a one-word title. But I did look through different books that I've been gifted, and I have a gifted copy of Fearful, which is part of the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. This is book 3.5 in that series. It's only 211 pages, and I have the gifted audiobook, which is only like 7 hours, and those books were really easy to consume on audio and went really quickly. So I'm curious to check this out. I've really heard no one talk about it, but this one is set during the timeline of Fearless. That's really all I know going into it. I will find out more and report back once I have finished it, probably tomorrow morning, and see where we are. I don't know. I may continue Silver Cloak and intersperse some of this lighter reading when I'm not as good at being focused, maybe. I don't know. We will see, and I will let you know. I am here actually to wrap up this vlog because by some miracle, I did wind up finishing both of my remaining books by this morning. I did have to continue into listening this morning where I would have loved to have finished yesterday, but that's okay because I have finished 2 books, and that provides a nice clean place to break off this particular reading vlog. Kylie wants to come and say goodbye as well. Yes, but you gotta let me pick up a book, okay? Yeah, you see here. I did in fact finish up both my books, as I was saying, before we were interrupted by puppy and cuteness. First off, I finished off Silver Cloak, and overall I have mixed feelings about this one. There are things that I liked. As we got further into the book, we did get more and better, I think, explanations for the world and the magic. It was more of a learn it as you go, and the main character kind of explaining things as it went along. The book is pitched as having a magic system which is centered in pleasure and pain, and that is something, honestly, at the beginning that had me a little bit worried this was going to be super smut heavy. And there is some there, but it's not the focus of the story by any means. In this world, you need pleasure to replenish your magic, and that can be sex, and this is a very sex positive world. It's a very queer normative world. She says explicitly that most people in this world like both male and female, and that is kind of in the backdrop of everything. You see pleasure parlors, you see gaming dens, you see all different ways. Sex isn't the only way to have enough pleasure to replenish your magic, so that's addressed in here as well. When it comes to pain, I thought there were some interesting discussions on that end as well, because pain will enhance your magic. It'll make it stronger. And there's things like someone might bite their tongue or dig in a fingernail or something to give pain to help enhance a spell. There's also a discussion in here about a woman and the fact that she goes through pain every month with her monthly cycle, and that can be a source of incredible power as well, which I appreciated. I think the discussions about how someone has to be careful not to go too far were also well done and interesting. There is a big twist in here, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. I do think that I didn't see it coming fully, or that it would go the direction it did, which I do appreciate. I think there were definitely hints of how power can corrupt and how that might take the story in some different directions going forward. I do think I am interested enough to pick up the next book, especially as I was enjoying this one more toward the end. I had some issues with some of the writing being too much explaining and in ways you didn't need. Like, there were things that I wanted fleshed out more, like the magic system and the world building earlier on in the book. Then there would be moments where a character would use a word, and our main character, who's our only POV, would have to explain in her inner monologue, I guess, that this is a crude word for a male appendage. I got it from context. I got the gist of what he was saying, and it could have been left there. And there were a few moments of that where I'm just like, that was unneeded. Your writing is doing enough to tell me what something means. While on the other hand, there were spells she was using, and it would just throw in the word for the spell, and we were left to figure out exactly all of the implications of that from what happened, where maybe we could have used a little more explanation. So I think there were things there that maybe could have been worked out a little bit more. But in the end, I'm giving this one 3.5 stars. It took me a little too long to engage with to get much more than that, but I do see some potential for some interesting things to come. And I'm curious about the relationship as well between kind of the two main characters. And I didn't really connect with that relationship in here, and I think that impacted my feeling about some of the reveals that happened between them. But I do see some potential for the future. So in the end, that's where we're at with this one. And then the other book that I was working on finishing up is Fearful. And this was a quick novella. And in the end, is it necessary? No. I think this is for the people who really liked Kit, who wanted a little more explanation for the things he did in the Fearless part of the original series. And I think it was done in a really interesting way. The entire book is being narrated by a main character who is deaf. And she is looking on the human world for the most part without interacting with it, which was an interesting storytelling mechanism. And I have seen mixed reviews about how people are feeling about that and the fact that the narrator is kind of detached from the story. I personally like a good twist or a creative way of telling a story. So I did actually like that about this, and the fact that there were just different ways that this character deaf could interact with the world or not in different situations. The story is very much focused on Kit, but then also one of the other pairs of characters in the story. And honestly, I think if it had just been a shorter story and it was just the Kit portion, I probably would have had a little bit more enjoyment. The other characters weren't ones I cared as much about and weren't really giving a lot of plot to the story. I think this novella ends in a way that a spin-off series could be in the works for kind of the future of the characters from the original without saying too much about it. So I can kind of see maybe this was testing the waters a bit. I'm curious if we wind up getting that, because I think the reception for this one hasn't been the most positive. There are people who loved it. There are people who are one-starring it. So it's a mix. But overall, I had an entertaining time with it. Is it something that I necessarily needed? No. But I am glad that I had a reason to pick it up, because I had the audiobook from Simon Audio and I need to actually review it and get it out there. So that is that. I am going to go ahead and end this off here and then start off day number 10 in a new Advent vlog. Next time around, I'm going to be continuing on with Advent. I'm also going to be wrapping in Lightfall, which is coming next week from G at Book Roast. So it'll be interesting trying to pair up the prompts with G's prompts as well. And hopefully I can pull that off. Tune in to see. Let me know in the comments below, what would you have picked for any of these prompts or any of these books you've read? What have you been up to? Let me know all the things. And if you've made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, leave me some sort of silver emoji for silver quote. If you could hit that like button below, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in more of Kylie appearances, more of my Advent calendar reading, and more of my bookish content in general. But for now, I'll leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.